Will you be my dad's Valentine? Korean billionaire's twins asked homeless black woman. Rita's fingers traced the cracked spine of the poetry book. Langston Hughes. Someone had thrown it in a donation bin outside the Gangnam shopping complex, water-damaged and worthless. She'd fished it out 3 days ago. The cardboard beneath her was damp. February in Seoul meant rain that soaked through everything, turned her clothes into a second skin that never quite dried. She'd been sitting here for, 5 hours? Long enough that the security guard had stopped glaring. Long enough to become invisible. Miss with the pretty hair. Rita looked up. 2 kids. Twins, maybe 6 years old, in matching black coats that probably cost more than her last paycheck. Before everything collapsed. Before the school went bankrupt and her visa expired and she'd been too stubborn, too ashamed to call her family in Abuja and admit she'd failed. The little girl clutched a pink envelope. The boy held a heart-shaped chocolate box. Your hair, the girl said in careful English. It's pretty. Like a princess. Rita's hand went to her hair instinctively. Straight wig installed 8 months ago in her tiny apartment, back when she still had an apartment. She'd kept them neat. It was the one thing she hadn't let go. Her mother's voice in her head, you can be broke, baby, but you don't have to look broken. Thank you, sweetheart. The boy stepped closer. Bold. Are you alone for Valentine's Day? Something cracked in Rita's chest. A fault line she'd been ignoring. I am, she said. But that's okay. The twins looked at each other. Some silent conversation passed between them, the kind only twins have. The girl thrust the envelope toward Rita. Our daddy is alone too. Will you be his Valentine? Rita blinked. Opened her mouth. Closed it. Minho. Step away from that woman. Now. The voice cut through the noise of the shopping district like a blade. Deep. Cold. Authoritative. A man strode toward them, flanked by 2 security guards in black suits. He was tall, taller than most Korean men she'd seen. Sharp suit that fit like it had been made for him. Which it probably had. His face was all angles and control, except for his eyes. Those were tired. Haunted. Park Ji-hoon. She didn't know his name yet, but she'd seen men like him before. The kind who owned buildings, companies, lives. Appa, wait. The little girl, Minji, protested. She's nice. And she's alone. And you're alone. And tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Ji-hoon's gaze finally landed on Rita. She saw it happen. The way people's faces changed when they really looked at her now. The calculation. The pity. The discomfort. The quick assessment. Homeless, probably dangerous, definitely to be avoided. Rita stood up. She didn't have much left. Her coat had a rip in the sleeve. Her jeans were stained. Her sneakers had holes she'd tried to patch with duct tape. But she had her spine. She had her dignity. She met his eyes. Your children are very kind, she said in perfect Korean. No accent. 3 years of teaching in Seoul, she'd made sure of that. You should be proud. Ji-hoon froze. The security guard shifted. Appa, can we bring her home? Minho asked. She can read. Look, she has a book. And she's cold. And it's almost Valentine's Day. Minho, we cannot bring strangers. But you bring strangers to business dinners all the time, Minji interrupted with 6-year-old logic that couldn't be argued with. And they're boring. She looks interesting. Rita almost smiled. These kids were something else. It's okay, she told the twins gently. Your father is right. You should go with him. She held out the pink envelope. Minji's eyes filled with tears. You don't want to be Appa's Valentine? The security guard on the left whispered urgently in Korean. Sir, we should go. The car is. What's your name? Ji-hoon asked Rita. His team stiffened. This wasn't protocol. Rita Davis. American. Nigerian. How long have you been in Seoul? She could have lied. Should have. But something about those twins' hopeful faces made honesty feel like the only option. 3 years legally. 8 months, like this. Why? One word. Heavy as concrete. Rita met his eyes. My school went bankrupt. My visa expired. I had no money for a flight home. And I was too proud to ask my family for help. The rain started again. Light at first. Then harder. Ji-hoon studied her for a long moment. His security chief whispered again, more insistent. Probably warning him about liability. About optics. About scandal. But his children were watching him. Waiting to see what kind of man their father really was. Can you cook? Ji-hoon asked suddenly. Rita blinked. What? Can you cook? Clean? Take care of children? Understanding dawned slowly, like sunrise through smog. This wasn't charity. This was business. This was a man who dealt in transactions. Yes, Rita said carefully. I can do all of those things. My children need a nanny. The last 3 quit because I work too much and the twins are energetic. His mouth almost quirked. Almost. I'll offer you a job. Room and board included. Trial period of 1 week. If it works, we'll discuss a proper contract and help you sort your visa status. The security chief looked like he might have a stroke. The twins looked like Christmas had come early. And Rita felt hope flicker in her chest for the first time in 8 months. There's one condition, Ji-hoon added, his voice dropping lower. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. My children have evidently decided you should spend it with us. There's a charity gala I must attend. If you accept this job, you'll accompany us. As the children's caretaker, he added quickly. Nothing more. Nothing more. But the way he said it made Rita wonder if he was trying to convince her or himself. Why are you doing this? She asked. Ji-hoon glanced at his children. Minji still held that pink envelope. Minho still clutched the chocolate heart. Because they asked me to, he said simply. And I've said no to them too many times already. Before I tell you what happened next, if you're hooked, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to see where this goes. The park mansion wasn't a house. It was a statement. Rita stood in the marble foyer, dripping rainwater onto floors that probably cost more than her entire education. Crystal chandeliers caught the light and threw it everywhere. A staircase curved upward like something from a movie. The staff stared at her. A woman in her 60s approached. Thin. Severe. Her face could have been carved from ice. Sir, she said in Korean, not even looking at Rita. With respect, we don't know anything about this woman. Her background, her credentials. She speaks Korean, English, and according to my children, she reads poetry, Ji-hoon said dryly. That's 3 more qualifications than the last nanny had. He turned to Rita. Mrs. Cho will show you to the guest quarters. You'll have tonight to settle in. Tomorrow, the gala begins at 7 p.m. The twins' bedtime is 8:30, but tomorrow is an exception. Understood. As Mrs. Cho led her away, silent disapproval radiating from every step, Rita heard Minji whisper to her brother, Operation Get Daddy a Valentine is working. Despite everything, Rita smiled. The guest quarters were bigger than her old apartment. Hell, bigger than her family's house in Abuja. There was a bathroom with a tub you could swim in. A bed with sheets that looked like clouds. A closet that echoed when she opened it. And laid out on the bed was a dress. Not just any dress. A gown. Deep emerald green, elegant without being flashy. A note was pinned to it in sharp, precise handwriting. For tomorrow. Consider it a uniform. PJH. Rita ran her fingers over the silk. This was real. This was happening. 24 hours ago, she'd been sleeping on cardboard. Now she was holding a dress that cost more than she used to make in 3 months. She caught her reflection in the full-length mirror. Hollow-eyed. Too thin. Her face was gaunt in a way that made her look older than 32. There was dirt under her fingernails. Her clothes smelled like rain and desperation. But underneath all that, she was still herself. Still Rita Davis, who'd graduated summa cum laude from Howard. Who'd moved to Korea because she believed in adventure. Who'd survived 8 months on the streets without stealing, without selling herself, without losing the core of who she was. That night, she bathed for an hour. Washed her braids 3 times until the water finally ran clear. Cried quietly where no one could hear, the sound swallowed by the running water. When she finally slept in that cloud-soft bed, she dreamed of her mother. Breast cancer, 2 years ago. The funeral Rita had flown home for, maxing out credit cards she still hadn't paid off. Her mother's last words, "Baby girl, the universe has a way of putting you exactly where you need to be." She woke to small voices giggling outside her door. Do you think she's awake? Knock, Minho. We have to give her the card. Rita opened the door. The twins stood there in matching pajamas, silk, probably designer, holding a handmade Valentine's card covered in glitter and stickers. We made this for you, Minji announced. Because you're our Valentine now too. Inside, in wobbly English letters. Thank you for being nice. Love, Minji and Minho. P.S. Our daddy thinks you're pretty, but he won't say it. Rita's throat tightened. Did your father see this card before you showed me? No, Minho said innocently. Why? No reason. She crouched down to their level. Thank you. This is the most beautiful card I've ever received. Better than Appa's? Minji asked. What? Minho produced a small envelope from behind his back. Appa left this outside your door early this morning. We saw him. Rita's hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a simple card and a bank envelope. The card read, "Thank you for giving my children hope. Here is your first week's salary in advance. Buy whatever you need. The driver is at your disposal. PJH." The envelope contained more money than Rita had seen in months. But it was the PS at the bottom that made her pulse spike. My daughter is right. You do look like a princess. The driver, a kind older man named Mr. Kim, took them to a department store in Myeongdong. The twins held Rita's hands like they'd known her forever. "We need to make you pretty for the gala," Minji declared. "I thought the dress your father gave me was for the gala?" "Yes, but you need shoes. And jewelry. And maybe new braid decorations." Minho counted on his fingers. "Appa gave us his credit card and said to help you." Rita's first instinct was to refuse. But looking at these children's excited faces, she realized this wasn't about the money. This was about them wanting to take care of her the way she was supposed to take care of them. So she let them lead her through the store. Let them pick out silver heels that made her 3 inches taller. Let them argue over which clutch bag matched the green dress better. Let them choose delicate earrings that caught the light. In the makeup section, Minji whispered, "Our mommy used to wear this lipstick. The red one. Appa keeps a tube in his office drawer. He thinks we don't know." Rita's chest tightened. "Do you miss her?" "Every day," Minho said quietly. "But Appa misses her more. He pretends he's okay, but sometimes I hear him talking to her picture when he thinks we're asleep." These children. 6 years old and already carrying their father's grief along with their own. "What was she like?" Rita asked gently. Minji smiled. It was the first real smile Rita had seen from her. She laughed a lot. And she sang. And she told Appa when he was being too serious. She looked up at Rita with eyes too old for her face. "You kind of seem like her. Not in looks, but in feeling." Rita couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. Minho tugged her hand. "Come on. We need to find you a necklace. Something that makes Appa's eyes go all big and weird." Across town, Park Ji-hoon sat in his corner office at Park Hotel's headquarters, staring at a background check his head of security had run. Rita Davis. Age 32. BA in English Literature, Howard University. MA in Education, Columbia. Taught at Seoul International Academy for 3 years. Glowing recommendations. No criminal record. Visa expired due to employer bankruptcy, as stated. Everything checked out. She'd told the truth. But there was something else in the report. Something his security chief had highlighted in yellow. Subject has no family contact for past 8 months despite smartphone access at public libraries. Pride appears to be factor. Subject's mother passed away 2 years ago. Father remarried. Relationship strained. 2 years ago. The same year Soo-yeon died. They were both orphans of grief, in a way. Both learning to navigate a world that kept spinning even when your center had collapsed. His secretary knocked. "Sir, Kong Mi-sun is here." She says it's urgent. Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. Mi-sun, beautiful, ambitious, from one of Seoul's oldest families. She'd been circling since Soo-yeon's funeral, all practiced sympathy and strategic touches on his arm at charity events. "Send her in." Mi-sun entered in a cloud of expensive perfume. Designer suit. Perfectly styled hair. Everything calculated. Ji-hoon, she sat without being invited. "I heard something interesting. About a new staff member." He kept his face neutral. "My household staffing is hardly interesting. It is when you're taking a homeless woman to the Valentine's gala." Her smile was sharp. "Did you really think the shopping trip wouldn't be noticed? The twins, the credit card, the Nigerian woman. The children's nanny will accompany us." "That's hardly scandalous." "The children's nanny?" Mi-sun leaned forward. "Or the woman you're parading around on Valentine's Day, less than 24 hours after finding her on the street? What do you want, Mi-sun?" "I want you to be careful. You have a reputation. A company. Board members who are already nervous about your grief management." She said it gently, like she cared. This woman could be anyone. A con artist. Mentally unstable. Dangerous. The background check cleared. Background checks don't show everything. Mi-sun stood, smoothed her skirt. "I'm saying this as a friend, Ji-hoon. Think about your children. Think about what the press would do if they found out." When she left, Ji-hoon stared at the city skyline. He should listen to her. Should send Rita away tonight, pay her the week's salary, help her get home. It was the smart move. The safe move. But then he thought of the way Rita had stood up from that cardboard, shoulders back, chin high. The way she'd spoken Korean with perfect fluency and refused to be diminished by his judgment. The way his children had lit up around her for the first time since Soo-yeon died. The way something in his chest had cracked when she'd said, "I was too proud to ask my family for help." He understood that kind of pride. That kind of isolation. His phone buzzed. A message from Minji's number, which meant Minho had figured out how to use his sister's phone again. "Appa, we found Rita the perfect necklace. She looks like a queen. Don't mess this up." Despite everything, Ji-hoon almost smiled. 6:45 p.m. Ji-hoon stood in the mansion's foyer, checking his watch for the 3rd time. The twins were already dressed, Minji in a pink dress, Minho in a tiny suit, and vibrating with barely contained excitement. "Is she ready? Is she coming down?" Minji asked. "Patience, daughter. You said that 5 minutes ago." Mrs. Cho appeared at the top of the stairs. Even the stern housekeeper looked different. Softer. Sir, she said quietly. Miss Davis is ready. The twins squealed. Ji-hoon's heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape. Then Rita appeared. The emerald dress hugged her curves like it had been made for her body specifically. The twins had chosen well. The silver heels made her tall enough to almost meet his eyes. Her braids were styled in an elegant updo, small silver pins catching the light. The necklace, a simple silver chain, drew attention to her collarbone. But it was her face that undid him. She'd filled out slightly from just one day of real food. The hollows under her eyes were less pronounced. Her skin glowed, and her expression, nervous, hopeful, vulnerable, was devastating. She descended the stairs slowly, one hand on the railing like she wasn't quite sure the moment was real. Will this do? She asked softly. Ji-hoon realized he'd been staring. His security team shifted uncomfortably. The twins giggled. You look adequate, he said. His voice came out rougher than intended. Rita's face fell. Just slightly. Just enough that he knew he'd hurt her. Appa. Minji actually stomped her foot. You're supposed to say she looks beautiful. Heat crept up Ji-hoon's neck. He met Rita's eyes. You look beautiful, he said quietly. The dress is adequate. You make it extraordinary. The foyer went silent. Rita's breath caught. Her eyes, dark brown, impossibly deep, held his for a moment that stretched too long. The air between them felt charged, dangerous. Minho broke the spell. Are we going now? I want to see the chocolate fountain. In the limousine, Rita sat across from Ji-hoon. The twins chattered between them, a buffer of innocence. There will be questions, Ji-hoon said quietly, under the twins' noise. About who you are. I'll handle them, but stay close to me. What should I say if someone asks me directly? He considered. Tell them the truth. You're the children's nanny. Sometimes the simplest answer disarms people the most. And if they ask about before, then you tell them that too if you want. But you don't owe anyone your story, Rita. Not even me. The way he said her name, careful, like he was testing how it felt in his mouth, made her skin prickle. The limousine pulled up to Park Hotel's grand ballroom. Through the tinted windows, Rita saw the flash of cameras. The red carpet. The glittering crowd of souls elite in their diamonds and designer labels. I should mention, Ji-hoon said as the driver opened their door, there will be cameras. Tomorrow's tabloids will have questions. Are you prepared for that? Rita thought about the last 8 months. About sleeping in doorways and eating from convenience store trash bins and keeping her braids neat because it was the one piece of dignity she could control. I've survived worse than cameras, she said. Ji-hoon stepped out first, then offered his hand to help her from the car. The moment her hand touched his, cameras exploded. The ballroom was a fairy tale. Ice sculptures caught the light and threw rainbows across white tablecloths. Rose petals, thousands of them, covered every surface. A string quartet played something classical and romantic. And everywhere, the whispers. Who is that woman with Park Ji-hoon? She's not Korean. I heard she's the new nanny. On Valentine's Day? Please. Look at that dress. Rita heard every word. Felt every stare like a touch. But she kept her spine straight, kept her hand in the crook of Ji-hoon's elbow, kept smiling at the twins who held her other hand. Then a woman approached. Mid-30s, beautiful in that calculated soul way, perfect skin, perfect hair, perfect smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ji-hoon SSI. She air-kissed near his cheeks. And who is this? Kong Mi-sun, this is Rita Davis. The children's nanny. Mi-sun's eyes traveled over Rita slowly. Assessing. How refreshing. Taking the help to a charity gala. Very progressive of you, Ji-hoon SSI. The help. 2 words designed to cut. Miss Davis is here because my children requested it, Ji-hoon said, his voice dropping a degree. And what my children want, they get. Of course. Mi-sun's smile sharpened. I'm sure it's purely professional. Though one wonders what the board members will think. She turned to Rita. Do you speak Korean, dear? Or should I speak more slowly? Rita met her eyes. Smiled. Your concern is touching, Kong SSI. But I speak Korean fluently. I taught at Seoul International Academy for 3 years before my visa situation became complicated. I'm sure you understand how immigration can be challenging. Mi-sun's smile froze. Ji-hoon's hand tightened slightly on Rita's elbow. Not restraining. Studying. If you'll excuse us, he said smoothly. The children wanted to see the chocolate fountain. As they walked away, Minho whispered loudly, I don't like that lady. She smells mean. Minho, Ji-hoon warned. But his mouth quirked. Rita bent down to the twins' level. Thank you for defending me. Both of you. But you don't have to worry. Mean people are only mean because they're scared of something. What's that lady scared of? Minji asked. I don't know, Rita said honestly. But it must be pretty big to make her act like that. The gala proceeded in a blur of introductions Rita wouldn't remember. Businessmen with practiced smiles. Society women with sharp eyes. Everyone wanted to know who she was, and Ji-hoon deflected every question with the same smooth non-answer. The children's nanny. They wanted her here. At 8 o'clock, Min-ji tugged Rita's hand. I'm tired. Me too, Min-ho admitted, which meant he was really exhausted. He never admitted weakness. There's a family room upstairs, Ji-hoon said. I had it prepared just in case. Rita, could you? Of course. The family room was quiet. Plush couches, dim lighting, far from the ballroom's noise. Rita helped the twins out of their fancy clothes and into the pajamas someone had thoughtfully left there. Will you stay with us until we fall asleep? Min-ji asked. Of course. She lay between them on the oversized couch, one twin tucked against each side. Min-ji's breathing evened out first. Then Min-ho's. Rita stared at the ceiling, feeling their small, warm bodies against hers. When was the last time she'd been touched with affection? When was the last time someone had needed her, wanted her there, trusted her enough to fall asleep beside her? The door opened softly. Ji-hoon stood silhouetted in the doorway. He'd loosened his bow tie. His jacket was gone. He looked younger, less armored. They're asleep, Rita whispered. He moved closer, looking down at his children. His face did something complicated, love and grief and guilt all tangled together. Soo-yeon used to do this, he said quietly. Lie between them until they fell asleep. I was always at the office. Always at some meeting, some dinner, some deal that couldn't wait. His voice went rough. And then she got sick, and suddenly nothing was more important than getting home. But by then, he didn't finish. Didn't need to. You're here now, Rita said softly. That's what matters. Am I? He looked at her then, really looked. I brought you to a gala instead of spending Valentine's Day with them. I paraded you in front of cameras and gossips, and he stopped. Ran a hand through his hair. I'm using you. The same way I use everyone. I tell myself it's for them, but maybe I'm just lonely? Rita supplied gently. Ji-hoon's eyes snapped to hers. Something raw flickered there. You don't have to answer, she said quickly. I just meant I understand. Being lonely. Being so alone you forget how to be anything else. They stared at each other over his sleeping children. Dance with me, Ji-hoon said suddenly. What? Downstairs. The gala. I haven't danced all night. People will notice. But his eyes said something different. Said I want to. The twins. The staff will watch them. They're safe here. Rita carefully extracted herself from between the sleeping children. Followed Ji-hoon back downstairs to the ballroom. The quartet was playing a waltz. Couples swirled across the dance floor. Ji-hoon offered his hand. Rita took it. His other hand settled at her waist, light as a question. They moved into the music, and Rita realized two things simultaneously. She hadn't danced since college, and Ji-hoon danced like he'd been trained since childhood. Formal, precise, controlled. Relax, he murmured. You're overthinking it. I'm overthinking? She almost laughed. You look like you're negotiating a business deal. His mouth twitched. I'm trying to make sure I don't step on your feet. I'm wearing heels that cost more than I used to make in a month. If you step on them, they'll survive. This time he did smile. Small, barely there, but real. They turned, and Rita caught sight of them in one of the ballroom's massive mirrors. They looked good together. Right. The emerald of her dress against his black tux. Her brown skin against his pale hand. The way their bodies fit, moved together like they'd been doing this for years instead of seconds. This isn't just about the children anymore, is it? The words left Rita's mouth before she could stop them. Ji-hoon's hand tightened at her waist. His eyes, dark, intense, held hers. No, he said quietly. It isn't. The music swelled. Rita's heart hammered so hard she was sure Ji-hoon could feel it through her dress. I shouldn't have said that, she whispered. But you did. We barely know each other. 24 hours ago, I was. I know what you were. And I know what you are now. Brave. Intelligent. Kind to my children when you have every reason to be bitter about your own life. He pulled her slightly closer, just enough that she felt the heat of him. I know you kept your dignity when most people would have broken. I know you read Langston Hughes on cardboard because you refused to let circumstances take your humanity. You had me investigated. Of course I did. I brought you into my home. Near my children. And what did you find? Her voice had an edge now. That I'm exactly who I said I was? That I told the truth even when lying would have been easier? Yes. His jaw clenched. Which somehow makes this harder. Makes what harder? The song ended. Another began. They kept dancing. This, Ji-hoon said. You. The fact that I can't stop thinking about how you looked descending those stairs. The fact that I've checked on you 3 times tonight when I should be networking. The fact that I wrote that PS on your card at 3 in the morning because I couldn't sleep. Rita's breath caught. This is a terrible idea, she said. I know. Your reputation. I don't care. Your children. Adore you. Society. Can go to hell. They stopped moving. Stood in the center of the dance floor while other couples flowed around them like water around stones. Why? Rita asked. Her voice shook. Why me? Why now? Jihoon's thumb traced a small circle on her waist, unconscious, devastating. Because for 2 years, I've been going through the motions. Breathing, working, raising my children, but not living. Not feeling. And then my daughter asked a stranger to be my Valentine, and you said yes, even though you had nothing to gain from it. You gave my children hope. You gave them laughter. And somehow, in one day, you reminded me what it feels like to be alive. Rita's eyes burned. I'm a charity case. You're the least charitable person I've ever met. You won't accept anything you haven't earned. You paid for coffee at the store today with your own money even though I'd given you my credit card. Mrs. Cho told me. I didn't want to take advantage. That's exactly my point. His hand came up, cupped her face. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. You could have. Most people would have. But you didn't. The ballroom faded. The music became distant. There was only his hand on her face, his eyes on hers, the space between them shrinking. This is crazy, Rita breathed. I know. We should stop. I know. Neither of them moved. Then Jihoon's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again. He pulled back, checked the screen. His face went hard. What? Misun just sent this to several board members. He turned the phone so Rita could see. It was a photo. Her and Jihoon on the dance floor, his hand on her face, their bodies close. The caption read, Park Jihoon's new nanny formerly homeless. Excellent judgment for a man running a billion-dollar company. Rita felt ice in her veins. She knows. She knows. Jihoon's voice was flat. And she's not done. There's more. He scrolled. More photos. Rita shopping with the twins. Rita getting into his limousine. Rita's old cardboard spot, circled in red. Her visa expiration date. Everything. How did she? Money buys information. Jihoon pocketed his phone. His face was carved from stone. I'm sorry, Rita. I should have protected you better. You didn't do anything wrong. I brought you into this world. I knew what they'd do, and I did it anyway because I wanted. He stopped. I need to do damage control. The board will call an emergency meeting. The press will start digging. By tomorrow morning, your face will be on every gossip site in Seoul. Rita's chest felt too tight. What are you saying? I'm saying you should go home. Back to Nigeria. Tonight, if possible. I'll arrange a flight. Wire you enough money for a fresh start. You're paying me to leave. I'm protecting you from. No. Rita stepped back. You're protecting yourself. Your reputation. Your company. And that's fine, Jihoon. I get it. I knew this was temporary. I knew I didn't belong here. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. They stared at each other. The dance floor swirled around them, oblivious. So, what do we do? Rita asked. Her voice was steady even though her world was collapsing. Do I leave tonight? Disappear like I was never here? Let your children wake up tomorrow and wonder where I went. Jihoon flinched. Or do we face this? Rita pressed. Together. Tell the truth. Let them judge us and decide we don't care. You don't understand what you're asking. The media will tear you apart. They'll dig into everything, your past, your family, every mistake you've ever made. They'll make your life hell. My life has been hell for 8 months. At least this hell would be for something real. Rita, I'm not asking you to marry me, Jihoon. I'm asking if you're brave enough to stand next to me when things get hard. Because if you're not, I'd rather know now. Before you continue, drop a comment. Should Rita stay and fight, or take the money and run? Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because this decision? It changes everything. Jihoon opened his mouth. Closed it. The muscle in his jaw ticked. I can't give you what you want, he said finally. Rita nodded. Her throat felt full of glass. Then I'll go. She turned. His hand caught her wrist. Wait. Let go, Jihoon. I can't give you what you want, he repeated. Because I don't know what I want. I haven't known for 2 years. I've been operating on autopilot, work, children, sleep, repeat. And then you appeared, and suddenly I'm feeling things I'm not ready to feel. Wanting things I have no right to want. That's not my problem. Rita pulled against his grip. He held firm. I'm not letting you leave like this. You don't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. His voice rose, sharp enough that nearby couples glanced over. He lowered it. You think I don't want to stand next to you? You think I'm not terrified of what it means that I met you yesterday and can't imagine tomorrow without you in it? Rita went still. But my children, Jihoon continued, his voice rough. They've already lost their mother. If this falls apart, if we try and it doesn't work, they lose you too. And I can't do that to them. I can't. So you're choosing nothing. Rita finally pulled free. You're choosing safe. I'm choosing them. By denying them someone who loves them? Because I do, Jihoon. I met them yesterday, and I already love them. Which is insane. Which is probably unhealthy. But it's true. Something cracked in Jihoon's face. Before he could respond, a commotion at the ballroom entrance drew their attention. Mi-sun stood there with a man in an expensive suit, older, silver-haired, carrying authority like a weapon. That's Chairman Lee, Jihoon said quietly. Head of our board. Chairman Lee scanned the room, spotted them, started walking over. This is about to get ugly, Jihoon murmured. I need you to. Park SSI. Chairman Lee's voice cut across the space between them. A word. In private. Chairman Lee, this is Rita Davis. I know who she is. That's why we need to talk. He looked at Rita with cool assessment. Alone. Rita lifted her chin. Anything you need to say to him, you can say to me. Miss Davis, I don't think you understand the situation. I understand perfectly. Your company's reputation matters more than whether your CEO is a decent human being. Message received. Chairman Lee's eyebrows rose. Bold. But boldness doesn't pay shareholders. Neither does cowardice. Rita turned to Jihoon. I'll check on the twins. Then I'll pack. Have your driver ready in an hour. She walked away before he could respond. Before she could break down in front of all these people who already saw her as beneath them. The family room was quiet. Minji and Minho slept peacefully, unaware that tomorrow they'd wake up and she'd be gone. Rita sat on the couch, watching them breathe. She'd been in their lives for 24 hours. How could you love someone that fast? How could it hurt this much to leave? The door opened. Mrs. Cho entered, carrying a suitcase. I brought this for you, the housekeeper said. Her voice was softer than Rita had ever heard it. I thought you might need it. Thank you. Mrs. Cho sat down, surprising them both. His wife, Soo-yeon, she was like you. Rita looked at her. Not in appearance, but in spirit. She was fearless. She told him the truth even when he didn't want to hear it. She made him laugh. Mrs. Cho's eyes were distant. When she died, he died a little too. Buried himself in work. The twins barely saw him. It's been 2 years of existence. Not life. Why are you telling me this? Because today I saw him smile. Really smile. Because of you. Mrs. Cho stood. He's terrified. Of losing someone again. Of failing. Of being happy when his wife is gone. Survivor's guilt is a powerful thing. That doesn't change reality. No. But reality can be changed if someone's brave enough to fight for it. Mrs. Cho moved to the door, paused. The question is, are you? Downstairs, Jihoon faced Chairman Lee in a private room. You're compromising the company, Lee said bluntly. The board is already getting calls. Questions about your judgment. Your stability. Because I hired a nanny? Because you're parading a homeless woman around at a charity gala on Valentine's Day, less than 24 hours after meeting her. Lee's voice rose. Do you understand how that looks? The optics are catastrophic. The optics, Jihoon repeated flatly. Yes. Optics. Perception. The things that matter when you're running a public company. More than doing the right thing? The right thing. Lee laughed, bitter. The right thing is protecting thousands of jobs. Shareholder value. The company your family built. Not throwing it away for some woman you just met. Jihoon's hands clenched. She has a name. I don't care what her name is. I care that Kong Mi-sun is making calls, that gossip sites are already running stories, that our stock could take a hit if this isn't handled properly. Then I'll issue a statement. Clarify the situation. Or you could let her go. Pay her. Send her home. Move on. Lee's voice gentled. You're lonely, Jihoon. I understand that. But there are appropriate ways to address loneliness. Ways that don't threaten everything you've worked for. She's not a threat. Then what is she? Jihoon opened his mouth. The answer stuck in his throat. Lee nodded. That's what I thought. You don't even know. Which means you're making decisions based on emotion, not logic. And that's dangerous. Logic didn't save my wife. The words hung in the air. Lee's expression shifted. No, it didn't. But emotion won't bring her back either. You have to live with that, Jihoon. We all do. The question is, how? I don't know anymore, Jihoon admitted. The words felt like defeat. I thought I did. Work, children, routine. Keep moving. Don't feel too much. But then this woman appeared and made you feel something. I know. But feeling something and building a life are different things. What happens in 6 months when the novelty wears off? When the cameras move on and you're left with the reality of who she is, where she came from. She's educated. Intelligent. Good with my children. She was homeless. Because circumstances broke wrong. It could happen to anyone. But it didn't happen to anyone. It happened to her. Which means something about her choices, her life, Her decisions led to that point. Lee stood. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm saying you need to be realistic. This isn't a fairy tale. After Lee left, Ji-hoon sat in the silence. His phone buzzed. A text from the twins' number. Appa, Rita is crying. Did you make her sad? Ji-hoon took the stairs 3 at a time. The family room door was open. Rita sat on the couch with a suitcase beside her, tears streaming down her face, trying to be quiet. Min-ji and Min-ho slept on, oblivious. She looked up when he entered. Quickly wiped her face. Don't, Ji-hoon said softly. Don't hide it. I thought you'd send someone else. Your driver. Security. I'm not a coward. Aren't you? The words had no heat. Just exhaustion. You're sending me away. To protect you. To protect yourself. Rita stood, faced him. Let's be honest. This is about you being scared. About not wanting to risk anything real because real things can hurt you. That's not fair. None of this is fair. You think it was fair that my school went bankrupt? That Korea's immigration system is so rigid I couldn't find legal work? That I was too proud to call my family and admit I'd failed? Her voice rose, then dropped when Min-ho stirred. You think it's fair that I met your children and fell in love with them in a day, and now I have to leave and never see them again? Ji-hoon's jaw worked. I never meant. I know what you meant. You meant well. You always mean well. But meaning well isn't the same as being brave. Brave? Something sharp entered his voice. You want to talk about brave? I watched my wife die slowly. Watched cancer take her piece by piece while she smiled for the children and pretended she wasn't scared. And then she was gone, and I had to tell 2 4-year-olds that mommy wasn't coming home. That's what brave looks like, Rita. Living through that and still getting up every morning. Rita's expression softened. You're right. That is brave. But you know what else is brave? Letting yourself feel something again. Risking your heart even when you know it could break. Not hiding behind your children or your company or what society thinks. I'm not hiding. You are. And I don't blame you. After what you've been through. Of course you're scared. But don't pretend this is about protecting me. This is about protecting you. Silence fell between them. On the couch, Min-ji's eyes opened. She looked at them both, taking in Rita's tears, her father's rigid posture, the suitcase. You're leaving, she whispered. Rita knelt beside her. I have to, sweetie. Why? Because it's complicated. That's what adults say when they're being stupid. Min-ji's voice trembled. You don't want to leave. I can tell. And Appa doesn't want you to leave. I can tell that too. Min-ho woke up then, groggy. Saw his sister crying. What's happening? Rita's leaving because Appa is scared, Min-ji said. Min-ji, Ji-hoon started. It's true. You're always scared now. Scared to laugh too loud. Scared to be happy. Scared that if you love something, it'll go away like mommy did. Tears streamed down Min-ji's face. But mommy wouldn't want you to be scared. She'd want you to be happy. Ji-hoon looked like he'd been struck. Min-ho climbed off the couch, walked to his father. Put his small hand in Ji-hoon's large one. Min-ji's right. You're sad all the time. Even when you smile. But today you weren't sad. Today you looked at Rita the way you used to look at mommy. Son, we're not babies anymore, Appa. We know mommy's not coming back. We know you're lonely. And we know Rita makes you less lonely. Min-ho's voice was so serious for a 6-year-old. So why are you sending her away? Ji-hoon knelt down, eye level with his children. Because the world is cruel. People are already talking, saying mean things. It could hurt the company. It could hurt your futures. We don't care about the company, Min-ji said fiercely. We care about you. We care about Rita. We care about being a family again. We're still a family. We're broken, Min-ho interrupted. Ever since mommy died, we've been broken. But Rita, his voice caught. Rita makes us feel less broken. Ji-hoon's eyes burned. He looked at Rita over his children's heads. She was crying again, silently, her hand pressed to her mouth. I don't know how to do this, Ji-hoon said hoarsely. I don't know how to risk everything again. Then don't do it alone, Rita said. Let us help. Let your children help. Let me help. What if I fail? What if I hurt you? What if you don't? She moved closer, still kneeling, until the 4 of them formed a small circle on the floor. What if we're all brave together? What if we try, and it's hard, but we make it work because we choose each other every day? The board. Screw the board, Rita said. Min-ji gasped at the word, but smiled through her tears. You're Park Ji-hoon. You built that company back from near bankruptcy after your father died. You turned it into an empire. If they don't trust your judgment now, that's their problem, not yours. You investigated me too, Ji-hoon said, surprised. Google is free. And I wanted to know who I was trusting with my life. Rita reached out, took his hand. The question is, do you trust me? Ji-hoon looked at their joined hands. Brown and pale. Hers scarred from 8 months of survival. His scarred from 8 years of working himself numb. I trust you, he said quietly. I'm just terrified of what that means. Me too. Rita smiled through her tears. But maybe we can be terrified together. Minji wrapped her arms around both of them. Minho followed. For a long moment, they just held each other. A broken family and a broken woman, trying to figure out how to be whole again. Finally, Jihoon pulled back. If we do this, if you stay, it won't be easy. The media will be vicious. Society will judge. Some of my business relationships might suffer. I know. And we need to take it slow. For the children's sake. No rushing. No grand gestures. Just seeing what happens. Okay. And you need to let me help you. Your visa, finding work, rebuilding your life. Not as charity. As partnership. Rita nodded. And one more thing. Jihoon's voice dropped. If this gets too hard, if the pressure becomes too much, you tell me. You don't just disappear. You don't protect me by leaving. You talk to me. Promise. I promise. Rita stood in front of Seoul International Academy's main building. Her old school. The place where everything had fallen apart. And now, the place offering her a job. You don't have to do this, Jihoon said beside her. He'd insisted on coming. There are other schools. I need to, Rita said. I need to walk back in here as someone who survived. Someone who came back. The new director met them in the lobby. Kim Sun-hee, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes. Miss Davis. Mr. Park. She bowed slightly. Thank you for coming. The media storm had been brutal, just as Jihoon predicted. 3 months of gossip sites, think pieces, social media debates about class, race, privilege, and propriety. Chairman Lee had tried to force Jihoon's resignation. The board had split. But Jihoon had stood firm. Released a statement that was equal parts defiant and dignified. Rita Davis is a qualified educator who experienced temporary hardship. My children adore her. I respect her. Anyone who has a problem with that is welcome to sell their shares. The stock had dipped, then rallied. Turns out integrity was good for business. The position is yours if you want it, Director Kim said. English department head. Same salary you had before, plus compensation for the 3 years of back wages the previous administration failed to pay. Rita blinked. Back wages. The bankruptcy proceedings revealed several irregularities. You and 3 other teachers were owed significant amounts. The court has mandated payment. Kim smiled. Consider it karma. Outside, Jihoon took Rita's hand. A photographer across the street took their picture. Neither of them cared anymore. Dinner tonight? He asked. There's a new restaurant the twins want to try. The twins or you? Can't it be both? They'd been taking it slow, just as he'd promised. Separate bedrooms in the mansion. Dates that included the children. No rushing into labels or promises. But somewhere along the way, Rita had stopped being the nanny. Had become something else. Something more. Family maybe? Or just Rita. At dinner, Minji announced, we learned about immigration in school today. Oh. Jihoon looked wary. And I told everyone that Rita had visa problems, but she's fixing them now, and people who judge her are just scared of people who are different. Minji stated this like a fact. Teacher said I was very mature. Teacher is right, Rita said, fighting a smile. Minho added, and I told them Rita used to be homeless, and now she's not, which means circumstances can change. So we should never judge people by their worst moment. Jihoon's eyes shone. Where did you hear that? From you. You said it to Chairman Lee that night at the hotel. I was listening outside the door. You eavesdropped. For a good cause, Minho said solemnly. After dinner, after the twins were asleep, Rita and Jihoon sat in the mansion's garden. Spring was coming. The cherry blossoms were just starting to bud. I've been thinking, Jihoon said. Dangerous. He smiled. About what you said. That night at the gala. About being brave. I said a lot of things that night. You asked if I was brave enough to stand next to you when things got hard. He turned to face her fully. I wasn't. Not then. But these 3 months, watching you rebuild, watching you refuse to be defeated, watching you love my children like they're your own, you've taught me something. What? That bravery isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing it anyway. He took her hand. I'm still terrified, Rita. Terrified that I'll lose you. That I'm not enough. That I'll fail you the way I failed Suyeon. You didn't fail her. I wasn't there enough. Near the end, when she needed me most, I was always at some meeting, some deal. Making money to pay for treatments that didn't work. His voice cracked. I told myself it was for her, but really it was because I couldn't face watching her die. Rita squeezed his hand. She forgave you. I never met her, but I know she did. Your children remember her smile, her laughter. That's what she left them. Not resentment. Joy. How do you know? Because that's what love does. Real love. It forgives. It endures. It leaves light behind. Rita paused. My mother died of cancer too. I was there for every appointment, every treatment. And at the end, you know what she said? Baby girl, stop trying to save me. Go live your life. Make it big enough for both of us. Is that why you came to Korea? Part of it. I wanted adventure. Purpose. Distance from grief. Rita laughed softly. Didn't quite work out as planned. No. I ended up on cardboard in Gangnam, reading poetry to stay sane. She looked at him. But then 2 kids asked me to be their dad's Valentine. And here we are. Here we are, Ji-hoon echoed. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the garden shadows lengthen. I love you, Ji-hoon said quietly. I don't know when it happened. Maybe that first day when you stood up from that cardboard with your shoulders back. Maybe when you spoke Korean and refused to be diminished. Maybe when I saw you with my children and realized they needed you as much as I did. He turned to her. But I love you, Rita Davis. And I'm done being scared of it. Rita's breath caught. You can't just, we agreed to take it slow. I know. And we will. I'm not asking you to marry me or move into my bedroom or make any big decisions. He smiled. I'm just telling you the truth. Because you deserve truth. Because you've given me nothing but truth since the moment we met. Rita kissed him then. Soft and slow and sweet. When they pulled apart, she whispered, I love you too. Even though you're stubborn and scared and sometimes make terrible decisions under pressure. Like offering a homeless woman a job 24 hours after meeting her? Exactly like that. She smiled. Best terrible decision you ever made. The twins would agree. The twins are wise beyond their years. Above them, Minji's window was open just a crack. If they'd been listening, they would have heard her whisper to Minho, Operation Get Daddy a Valentine. Success. Does this mean Rita's staying forever? Minho whispered back. I think so. Good. I like her better than all the other grown-ups. Me too. 1 year later. Rita stood at the same Gangnam shopping complex, but this time she wasn't sitting on cardboard. She was there with a team from the nonprofit she'd started, Second Chances Korea. A program that helped foreign workers navigate visa issues, connected them with employers, provided temporary housing. Minji and Minho helped hand out flyers. Ji-hoon worked the crowd, using his network to recruit donor companies. And on Rita's left hand, a simple band caught the light. They'd gotten married quietly. Just the 4 of them and Mrs. Cho, who'd cried through the entire ceremony. Remember the spot? Ji-hoon asked, nodding toward a specific storefront. How could I forget? Think about what would have happened if the twins hadn't stopped. I'd probably still be reading Langston Hughes, waiting for circumstances to change. And I'd still be going through the motions. Dead inside, but too stubborn to admit it. He pulled her close. They saved us both. They did. A young woman approached their table. West African, maybe 25, looking exhausted and desperate in a way Rita recognized. Is this real? The woman asked in English. You really help people? Rita smiled. We really do. What's your name? Laura. Laura. That's beautiful. I'm Rita. Tell me what happened. As Laura told her story, student visa expired, school closed, no money for a flight home, Rita caught Ji-hoon's eye. He smiled. The circle was completing itself. Then Rita's phone buzzed. A Nigerian number she didn't recognize. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Rita Davis? Yes. This is Inspector Ade from the Nigerian Police Force, Abuja Division. The man's voice was formal, careful. We've been trying to reach you for 3 months. It's regarding your father's estate. Rita's blood went cold. My father? What about him? I'm afraid I have difficult news, Miss Davis. Your father passed away 6 weeks ago. Heart attack. We found your contact information in his personal effects. There are complications with the will. And some documentation that mentions you specifically. You need to come home to Abuja. Immediately. Rita's hand tightened on the phone. Ji-hoon noticed, stood up, moved closer. What kind of complications? She asked. The kind that require your presence. Your father left something for you. Something he said you'd need to handle personally. The inspector paused. Miss Davis, I don't mean to alarm you, but there are also some questions. About circumstances surrounding his death. And your stepmother has filed certain claims. The line crackled. Inspector? Hello. Dead air. Rita lowered the phone, her hands shaking. Ji-hoon took her shoulders. What happened? My father's dead. I have to go back to Abuja. Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. And something's wrong. Something about his death. The inspector said there are questions. Minji tugged her sleeve. Rita? Are you okay? Rita looked down at the little girl's worried face. Looked at Minho standing beside his sister. Looked at Ji-hoon, who'd become her anchor, her home. I don't know, she said honestly. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Your father didn't die of a heart attack. And your stepmother knows it. Come home before it's too late. If this story grabbed you, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because Rita's past is about to collide with her present in ways she never expected. Drop a comment. What do you think happened to Rita's father? And should she go back to Abuja, or is this a trap? You won't want to miss what happens when Rita returns to the country she thought she'd left behind forever.